Greetings, Hollow Men, and welcome to Board with Video Games, the gaming podcast that strives for the right balance of coverage, the games you play on your table and on your television. You can think of us as the pumpkin pie and whipped cream of gaming podcasts. We're a proud member of the PSVG Podcast Network. I am one of your hosts, Kyle, and joining me on this co-op adventure, the guy who only has eyes for Cool Whip. Josh, how are you doing this evening?
Well, I have two important things to mention. One, you didn't get potatoes in.
I know. I'm sorry. Potatoes have been demoted for a while.
And two, I hate Cool Whip.
Really? Are you a Ready Whip person, or do you just not like that kind of stuff at all?
I can't do the texture. I'm a texture person. It looks solid and it's not. So mentally, I can't handle it.
Gotcha.
Whipped cream pudding, sour cream, cream cheese. I can't do any of that stuff.
Really? So do you like pumpkin pie then, or no?
Nope. There's only one kind of pie I like, and it's apple pie.
Man, you are American.
It goes against my consistency issue. I just have a thing. If it looks solid, it has to taste. It has to go in the mouth hole solid. If I bite into it and you can't bite into it, like whipped cream, I can't deal with it.
No, I can understand that.
It's just a weird thing.
There's only one texture thing I have a problem with when it comes to food, and that is like if you do like baked acorn squash or anything like that. Like if it's like cubed up and put in something, I like it. But if you take it and then you just like try to make like pasta out of it or angel hair, a cooked squash, to me I imagine that it is what eating hot, wet hair tastes like. So like every time, like and I feel horrible because my wife loves it. So like I try, I'm like, yeah, we can do this. That's fine. But like like the whole time I'm eating it, I'm like, I feel like this is what like wet, hot hair is like. And she's a saint. So we've only ever had it like once, but like she loves it. And I feel really bad because like I'm not a picky person. That is just the one thing I can't get over. So wow. I understand the texture thing. I get it. I totally get it. But hey,
a nice picture.
I like to be descriptive, you know. I like to make sure everybody's on the same page as to where I am when it comes to food. But this is not a food podcast. That is right. This is a gaming podcast. So thanks so much for joining us each week, everyone. We are drawing to the end of the year here, but we take no time off because we love talking to each other and we love talking to all of you. So we're here to talk about some games this week. As always, if you have any feedback, questions, or suggested topics, hit us up at Board with VG on Twitter. Check out all the awesome pictures that Josh puts over on our Instagram, also Board with VG, and use that hashtag Board with VG to keep everybody in the know. Have us all in the conversation about what kind of stuff you are playing, the things that you are talking about, so we can just have one big, awesome conversation. So enough with the housekeeping. Josh, let's get some of the games. What have you been playing on your tabletop this holiday week?
Well, nothing compared to what you have been playing. I don't know if you saw the pictures on Instagram today, but my father was cleaning out our storage room where, as kids, we would collect baseball cards and cards in general. And he was going through all these totes and sorting everything, and he texted me. And he said, "What is Overpower, and why do you have so many of them?" So I said, "Oh, God, that was a game I played forever ago," not realizing that it was 1995.
Oh, wow. Was it really that long ago?
And the only reason why I know that is because there was a promo card in the cards that said, "Coming summer 1995. I was like, oh, my God. So he literally handed me, I have to take a picture of the box. A short, long box, if that makes sense. A medium box. Maybe like 1,000 cards. Marvel Overpower and DC Overpower. And there's a few mixed in Star Wars TCG cards in there, so I have to look up the value on those cards. And one Wildstorm collectible card game card. If you know Wildstorm, it was like... Wildcats, and it was
I loved Wildcats back in the day.
Yeah. So it was a grifter card. Anyway, so today because he gave them to me yesterday as a Christmas gift, because we weren't giving each other Christmas gifts. He's like, "I sorted through them all. Here you go." So I went through them all. I found an original rule book
Oh
and
wow.
the rule cards. So because I showed my buddy who I used to play with, and he goes, "How do you even play it? Do you remember?" And I'm like, "No, I have no clue." But I'll post some pictures. It's not too like they if you play the versus card systems, they based it off of Overpower, which was the original Marvel TCG game, and then DC followed suit, and they made it so you can play them together. So you could put, because the cards are exactly the same,
Mhm.
except the backs are different for DC. So you could put Batman, Venom, Carnage, Doctor Doom, and Bane on the same team.
Is this?
Which
I'm trying to remember this game. Is this the one that had like Spider-Man and Wolverine on the cover?
depends on the expansion.
Mansion. I'm
You might
trying.
be
I
thinking of
think.
Versus Systems, the
Oh, I
original
might. Maybe
ones,
I am.
because they just redid it. I have a new one.
Okay.
The new Versus Systems came out last year, but the original ones, they had Image, DC, Marvel. They threw everything at the wall against it, and it failed because they were trying to capitalize on Overpower. So I sorted them all today. I half sorted them. When I fully sort them over the week, I'll post some pictures on Instagram
Hmm.
so everyone can see what it used to be like to game in 1995. But what I'm going to talk about today is Odin's Ravens. I think I mentioned it as a game we played at PAX Unplugged.
Hmm.
But uh, the wife and I, it's a two-player game that we find ideal for parents or for people who don't have a lot of time but still want a game. And we're gifting that and Fox in the Forest to our friends who became parents 2 months after we did. Because as the babies develop, it becomes harder and harder to play. Um, I should mention I did get Charterstone for Christmas, and I'm very
Oh,
excited.
nice.
I'm very excited to dive into it. So Odin's Ravens is a game where one person plays as a raven, the other person plays as a competing raven, and it is a race to the finish. So you have cards, and on each side of the cards, they're long cards. I'm all over the place today. I'm realizing we posted 2 of our videos on PSVG last week,
Hmm.
but when we set up today, I was like, I'm not going to bring anything to show pictures
Oh
of
yeah.
because no one will see it. So I could show pictures. You have a card, and on each side of the card is a land card. If you know Magic, it looks like a land card. You have snowy peaks. You have uh, swampland. You have green grass. You have mountains, and you have maybe a canyon. If I had to describe it. And what you do is you place out a track of 16 cards. And when you place them, it says don't place 2 cards where the lands match. So if I put down a card that had 2 snowy peaks on both sides, the next card I put down can't have a snowy peak, period. Otherwise, you put it at the bottom of the deck, you draw another card. So you set up this landscape, and the person across from you will have different terrain to cross than you do. You also have a hand of cards. You have a deck of Loki's tricks, and you have a deck of land cards. You draw 5 cards, or you start with 5 cards, then you draw up to 5 cards. Because on your turn, you can play as many cards as you want from your hand. So if you play a Loki's trick card, it can alter the path that you're flying, it can alter your opponent's path. You can skip a card, etc. But after you use Loki's cards, they don't replenish. They don't go to the discard pile. They're just done. And as you draw your cards, you're drawing land cards into your hand, and that helps you cross the terrain you're passing. If you come up to 2 snowy peaks in a row and you play 1 snowy peak card, it will cross all of the snowy peaks in front of you. And as you do this, it's literally a race to the finish. The thing that makes this game so incredible is the art. It's for a small game that takes 20 minutes to play. It's one of the most gorgeous looking games. Uh, in comparison to the size of the game, because there's plenty of beautiful big games out there,
Mhm.
but this game is small, it's easy to play, and the art is incredible. It looks so nice. Even the cards, they're not like regular card stock. They have texture to them. Like when you
Mhm.
put the card down, you feel like you're touching something special, which is rare in a card game or a game in general. If anything, if you pick up a game, a lot of times people open the box and they go, "Oh, I'm gonna ruin these cards in a week because they're flimsy," or
Yeah.
you shuffle them and the corners come off. So the game itself is a great game. I think it's 25 bucks. It's well worth the price. It is a small game, but it's one of those things where if you just want to play a game and you don't have a lot of time in your day, it's just nice to sometimes play a game and and for me and my wife to like wind down, have a conversation with each other, and not have to worry about forgetting a rule.
Right.
Because once you know the rules, you're done. You don't have to second guess anything. It's all self-explanatory. Um, so Odin's Ravens, check it out. Highly recommended. It's by Osprey Games, who I'm becoming a huge fan of. Check them out. And then I say, Kyle, what have you been playing?
Well, I haven't been playing anything new, but I have wrapped up two games I've talked about in the last few weeks. So I'm just gonna briefly give final thoughts on these. One being Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle Monster Box of Monsters expansion. So finished all of the additional games that are included in that box and finished kind of the campaign. The one thing I do like is at the very, very end, the instructions give you like a, hey, if you want to continue playing, here are some different ways that you can continue to play this game, which I think is really cool. So it's not just a one way that you must do it. It gives you a whole bunch of different ways that you can continue to play and interact with the game after this. Now, I have no idea if they're releasing additional expansions. I hope they do because I think it's a cool world, and I think the game overall is pretty fun. But overall, I think it's like I said before, it is a must-own if you like deck building games, and maybe if you're not playing with younger kids because it is a little more challenging. However, with that being said, we had no issues finishing Box 3 or Box 4. We won both of them the first time we played them. And I think in both of them, if you're familiar with it, we only ever got to the second location for the villains. So we didn't have too
Wow.
much. Yeah, we didn't have too much trouble. They add some new stuff in box 3, which when you really think about it, isn't really new. They try to put a different spin on an existing mechanic, and it basically is just trying to bring in a cool thing from the Harry Potter universe in, but it really is no different than the mechanic that's already in the game, which was a little disappointing. I was like, why didn't you just call these what they are rather than, because you could have made this, had you just saved this and maybe done a new expansion based just off of this new thing, it would have been really cool, but they didn't. So that was a little bit disappointing. And then box 4, from what I can remember, there was no real new mechanic added that I can think of off the top of my head. But it was still enjoyable. I mean, we really enjoy that universe, and I think the deck building game is very solid. By the end, with all of the cards that are in the Hogwarts deck, it can get a little daunting because there might be situations or scenarios where like you need certain things and you're just not getting them. So that can be a little bit tough, but that can happen in any deck building game.
Yeah.
And we never got too hosed in a situation where we could just do absolutely nothing. There are some interesting rules mechanics that happen, and there's some interesting things that can happen between the villains and some other things that you have to do that I don't want to spoil, like in
Good.
these boxes, that can sometimes make you feel like there were a couple times where like I was like, this turn is completely useless. There's nothing I can do on this turn. But then the next turn I was able to do something. So there was never like these long strings of, oh, I don't feel like I can do anything, or nothing is working out here. So definitely recommend it. Like I said, as long as you're maybe not playing with younger kids, because I think it's definitely challenger than the base game is. More challenging, I should say, than the base game is. But definitely worth a look if you enjoyed the base game. And even if you do have kids and you think that they are okay with losing a few times, I know I never was okay with losing as a kid. Still not great at it now, but might be still worth a look. The other thing then that we took some time on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day to finish is we completely finished season 2 of Pandemic Legacy.
It blows my mind. I can't believe you finished it already.
So it's completely done in a month from we started. I think it was the day before. We played it. I counted because you can kind of keep track of everything. We played the total number of games we played over 4 days. We played 16 times. So we were 10-6. We won 10 times. We lost 6 times.
Nice.
That's
a winning season.
It is a winning season. We finished with a winning season in season 1 as well, but we lost both games in December. So, and we were like 10-4 or 11-4 or something. I don't remember what it was.
Still winning season.
Yeah.
Who cares what the end result is?
So yeah, or maybe it was 11-6 because there was 1 month only that we completely lost. So it must have been 11. Anyway, neither here nor there. But anyway, this game is really interesting. And I think one of the things that I think now in retrospect, if you can play it with more people, I think it will be better. It suffered towards the end from something it suffered from a little bit earlier in the game of that eventually it just made things happen, which I understand why. Like, I understand that they have this arc that they're trying to get through and that you play the game over months and you can't just play every month infinite times until you win or until you accomplish these things. So they have to push you forward at some point. However, we reached a point that in the month of November, we read all the stuff we needed to do. We looked at the board. We looked at what we needed to do for our objectives. My wife and I looked at each other and said, there's no way we can win this. We can't win this. Ugh. We cannot win this game. Now, we can do some things to set it up so we can win it in the second half of the month.
Yeah.
But right now, I don't think there's literally a way we can win this game right now. And that was kind of a crappy feeling. Yeah, knowing that no matter what you do, now had we made different choices earlier, we could have won in November. But we don't know. Like, that's the whole point of legacy games is things are changing, things are evolving, you're going through. So some of the choices we had we made different choices, we could have won that game. But what we did is we're like, well, okay, we know that we're probably really no way we can win this. So we said, okay, here are the 2 things we want to accomplish, or the 3 things we want to accomplish. We accomplished those 3 things, and then we literally tried to lose as fast as we could. Because we didn't want to there are things that happen that the longer you prolong things, it can have negative impacts on the board state. And we didn't want that to happen. So we're like, forget it. We're going to literally lose as fast as we can. We are going to do as little as we can to prevent bad things from happening. And that's what we did. So we did the things we needed to and then lost as fast as we could. And then we came back and we won the second time we played the month because we had done all this stuff the first half. And I don't know, for some reason that just left a sour taste in my mouth. I don't know why. Maybe I'm overthinking it. I don't know. But that I just felt was kind of weird that we had gotten to that point where we felt like the best strategy was to lose. And it worked because we won the second time we played in November and we won December the first time. So it worked out, but it just seemed kind of counterintuitive to everything that you are thinking of in playing games. And I think maybe that's kind of the I don't want to say legacy of Pandemic Legacy Season 2, but maybe what it's trying to teach you is that in order to win this game, sometimes you just have to let go of things. And that's what we did. So, like I said, overall, I still definitely recommend the game. I think it's a lot of fun. I think that people should definitely give it a whirl, especially if they enjoyed the first game. But I think sometimes be okay with things maybe not going your way or not going the way you expect them to, and just kind of roll with it because it can still be a good time. Things can still work out your way in the end. You might just have some bumps along the road as you go. So with that, we're going to go ahead and talk about 2018 that's coming up. So in a few days, 2018 is going to be here. It might be here now, depending on when you're listening to this. It might be here, So anyway, we just want to talk a little bit about what we are looking forward to Kevin Cut here. 2018 is now only a few days away, or maybe depending on when you listen to this, it's already here. You could already be in 2018. So we want to talk about what we're looking forward to in 2018. This could be specific trends, specific games, any kind of thing we are looking forward to or expecting to see in 2018. As always, we start with board games. So we just want to talk about, board games we're excited about, trends we're expecting to see, kind of the things we think might happen or are going to happen in 2018. So, starting off, there are a few games I'm actually really, really excited about that are supposed to come out in 2018. And I think might be potentially big games for the year. One of those being Seventh Continent. Now, I know everyone's going to say Seventh Continent's already out. It is for people who back the game on Kickstarter. But since they are only doing Kickstarter, a lot of people, myself included, have not had the opportunity to play this game as of yet. So I did back the second Kickstarter. My copy of Seventh Continent is supposed to be coming in March, I believe is what the date looks like. And I'm really excited to jump into this game. I think, storytelling with board games is something that is really got pushed forward in 2017. I think it's going to continue even more in 2018. We're going to see, I feel like, a lot more campaign-based games, a lot more adventure-based games that are telling you this story as you play and as you're going through these things. So Seventh Continent, that's one of the things I'm really looking forward to and hoping that it is as amazing as people are saying that their experience with it has been. In addition to Seventh Continent, there's another game that I'm really excited about, and that's a game called Edge of Darkness. Now, if you're not familiar with Edge of Darkness, it's a game designed by John D. Clare, and is being released by AEG. They're doing a Kickstarter for it. I think their aim is to have the Kickstarter up in February, if I recall correctly. But what this is a continuation or the next game kind of in the card construction game where similar to Mystic Vale. So they're taking that concept of, card crafting and building cards as you play. And in this portion, making it more of a medium weight Euro style game. So 2 to 4 players, and, it involves kind of all the things of like building your deck and building your characters, but also then placing workers to gain resources to be able to purchase other things. And there's also a dice power tower mechanic in it where you drop dice in, depending on where they come out or the pile of cards they land on, different things trigger, different things interact. But also as you're building your characters up, the backside of the cards are also I don't want to say demons, but the enemies that you need to fight throughout the game. So while you are making your characters better, at the same time you're making the opponents and the things you have to fight better as well. So it's this really cool combination of making your people awesome, but also then making the people you have to fight more awesome. And then it's just a whole bunch of awesomeness combating against each other. I really think that the card crafting system that AEG has going on is one of the coolest systems around. John D. Clare, I think, is the person who created it. This was actually, I believe, if I've read things right, the first game he intended on making with it, but then Mystic Vale kind of was a little more simpler, a little more straightforward. So that kind of then took priority. Edge of Darkness kind of shifted back, and now it looks like it's on the horizon. It's going to be coming out in 2018. Like I said, from what I've heard, they're hoping to do a Kickstarter starting in February for Edge of Darkness, and that is something I am definitely looking forward to. It's supposed to be a pretty meaty, heavy game, though. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes and if it works out the way I want it to, but I am very excited for it. So hopefully it works out like I'm anticipating. A third game that I'm really excited for and looking forward to in 2018 is one that I'm also a little bit skeptical on, and that's Middara, or I believe is how you pronounce it, Middara. So this game actually was a Kickstarter a number of years ago. It might have even been as early as 2015. This game was out on Kickstarter, but it is a 1 to 4 player cooperative storytelling game. Has some cool miniatures, but it's like set in a neo-fantasy universe. So you have the typical fantasy characters you'd expect to have, but in a more modern situation. So, they're wearing jeans and t-shirts and all these cool things while they're still having the high fantasy powers and mages and things like that. So, like I said, this game, I think from more of a setting perspective than anything, is really, really interesting to me. I want to see how this all works. kind of the things that they do. The game is from a publisher called Succubus Publishing. I think they have like one other game. I can't name it off the top of my head, but I think this is their second thing. And like I said, it's been a while since this game was originally on Kickstarter. I think 2015, I think, is when it was originally announced and originally available for funding. I think you can still pre-order it now, though, even though if you didn't do the Kickstarter. But this game was supposed to come out in 2016, I think. That still didn't come out in 2017. Now it's scheduled for 2018. You know, when you think of the video game world, that often spells doom. That usually means something isn't going right. But I'm hopeful for this game just because, like I said, from a setting standpoint, I think this might be really cool, really interesting, and I'm hoping that it, you know, lives up to all the cool things that I really feel like it could do. So I'm always down for more cooperative, fun games like that. I'm hoping that, you know, this is able to fit the bill and kind of fit into all of those good things. But yeah, so those are three of the games that I'm interested in, and I'm really hoping come to fruition and are able to make 2018 a great year. Seventh Continent, Edge of Darkness, and Midara. In addition, you know, I think just in the general world of board games, I feel like 2017 was such a solid year. It's going to be really interesting to see if 2018 can stack up. Like I said previously, I don't know if there's a total runaway success for 2017, a game that was head and shoulders above the others. I think Seventh Continent obviously got a lot of rave reviews. Gloomhaven, you know, was released and people are really excited and high on Gloomhaven. And then a lot of the escape room games became big trend-setting things that we started to see a lot of. So that was all great. I don't know if we're going to see anything break out in 2018. I think we will continue to see the legacy games. Obviously, there's going to be some more of those, but also just more of the campaign style games, of games that are telling us stories, games that, you know, Stuffed Fables is coming out as well from Plaid Hat, which I'm looking forward to. But those games that are just telling us stories and telling us adventures, and almost more of reducing the role-playing games that exist into a more simple, streamlined element. So you don't necessarily need a dungeon master or a game master in order to run the game, but you have these awesome, cool tabletop experiences for 1 to 5 players. So you can even play them, you know, solitaire, and just really sit down at a table and have a good story told to you, and still have all of those awesome, cool adventures that we're all looking for and hoping for and really want to have. In addition to that, I'm, you know, really hoping to be able to go to my first con that I've ever gone to. No matter how long I've been in board games for, which has been quite a while at this point, many, many years that I've been playing hobby board games, I've never actually gone to a board game con, and I'm hoping to fix that in 2018. Geekway to the West is probably the one that is highest on my list. Single day badges, or I should say the non-VIP badges, go on sale soon here in early January. So I'm hoping to snag myself badges for the wife and myself so we can, you know, go do that. Also visit some family that I have down in that St. Louis area. But that is one that is definitely high on my list. Also, you know, living in the upper Midwest like I do, there's a lot of smaller ones of board gaming conventions I would like to get to that I've just never really put myself out there to do. So maybe this will be the year that, you know, between this podcast, all the other things going on, maybe this will be the year that I say, hey, it's time to go play some games with people that I don't know very well, go to some conventions and really start to have that experience, have more cool things to talk about with Josh on here, and just really have a good time. Speaking of which, there is a play group in my very small town that I live in. There is a group of folks who get together every week and play games, and I'm aware of them, and I've talked to folks who are in the group, but I've never gone and played, and I should really just do that. I think that is going to fit into that as well, of just getting out and playing games with people. That's one of the reasons that I am so high on tabletop games compared to video games sometimes, is that, you know, tabletop games is really all about going out, talking to people, getting connected to people, having conversations across the board, sitting down, having some, you know, coffee or whatever your beverage of choice is while you're playing, and having those conversations and making connections with people, you know, while you're playing a game. And, you know, sure, it might be competitive, it might be cooperative. There's a lot of things that it could be, but it's really all about, hey, let's build these connections. Let's get to know people. Let's, you know, have some camaraderie. You know, whereas in video games, yes, you know, in video games, I definitely talk to people and I play some multiplayer games and I am still connected to some friends and things like that. But it is much more difficult and much more challenging to have, you know, those regular conversations, or even like in-depth conversations about life, when you're staring at a video screen. Like the game inherently pulls you to the screen, and helps even if you're just listening, but still cuts you off from all those other people. Whereas, the board games, like, yeah, you can look down at the table, but you have to look down to look at the table. Whereas when you look up, you're looking at people. You're looking at other people, engaging with other people, having conversations with other people. And that's one of the reasons I like co-op games so much, is that you have to have these conversations, obviously, more often than not in a non-adversarial way, that, hey, we're all working together. Now, clearly, that can lead to an alpha gamer problem. But overall, I think that is a great way to get together with people, get to know people better, and just, really help build those connections and make the board game hobby as fun and welcoming and inviting as it can be. So, yeah, I think overall 2018 is looking to be a pretty awesome year for board games. Josh, what are you excited about? What games are you excited about when it comes to board games in 2018?
Did you cover all 2018?
I covered all of 2018 for about 4 minutes longer than I anticipated.
Can you hear me at least?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you. That's great.
I had to call the wife in to get her password. My freaking Windows PC shut down, and just without asking. And then it wouldn't finish restarting. But I was like, no one else is recording for PSVG. We can go along today, right?
We can. So I didn't say anything in the podcast either. So for all of those who are listening, the reason I was going on so long is Josh had a few technical difficulties. So you don't have to listen to me talk about 2018 anymore.
Oh my
Josh,
God.
do you have some board games you're excited about? What do you think 2018 is going to hold in the world of board games?
Well, sorry to our listeners, but please fill me in as I go. If you covered anything, or just, I would like to know what you're excited about as well.
You go, and I will fill in if anything fits, and then I will recap at the very end.
I just told my wife, I said, forget a 4K TV. I'm getting a new laptop with our tax refund. I can't deal with this Windows nonsense. Anyways, I'm trying to pull up all this stuff. Man, this year is not off to... Oh, it's off to a good end. A terrible end. So for me, 2018, to be honest with you, is kind of a mystery, and I kind of love that. Because that's kind of what 2017 was for me too. I didn't really know what was coming out. I kind of just, I had some ideas. We obviously knew Risk Legacy was coming out. I think Pandemic Legacy, sorry, thank you. Oh, hey, how about Risk Legacy Season 2? That would be awesome.
Yeah, they just do it with the one where you go to the moon, like Risk 2045 or whatever it is.
Yeah, which is still crazy popular. I didn't talk to the wife yet, but I think for the start at least, I think it would be really cool if we focused on not buying new games and focused on spoiling in the way you would spoil a child, spoiling our favorite games. And when I say that, I mean like Broken Token, all the Etsy stuff that's out there. Like she found if anyone's played Potion Explosion, they know once you build the actual device that dispenses the marbles, the box doesn't fully close. And she found one on a website that they made with like a laser printer that is lower profile, so the box will close fully. Maybe spending the $80 on Gloomhaven Broken Token piece so I can actually have everything organized. I think this first half or first quarter of the year, we're going to spend buying things to make our games better. So like Star Wars Destiny. Right now I have it in a Quarrior's original box tin set because that's where I used to keep all my dice, and now it's just convenient to keep all my Star Wars Destiny cards in. So we can buy on Etsy Star Wars Destiny laser printed boxes to put our dice and our cards in. So I think that's a good idea to start with. Also, Friday will be my first play of Gloomhaven. So, it's close to 2018. But 2018 also, for me, is important because I'm going to start playing the games I haven't played yet. So for me, 2018 is Pandemic Legacy Season 2. It's Gloomhaven. It's Charterstone. It's Downforce. It's Kickstarters. Okay? So Kickstarters will be a big 2018 for me. And I'll tell you why. Batman from Monolith comes out in 2018. I will be backing that as high as I can afford to back. Spirits of the Forest by Thunderstone comes out January 2nd. I hear a dog, right?
Yeah.
comes out January 2nd on Kickstarter, and it looks awesome. I just saw another game on Dice Tower today. So I don't know if you guys love this as much as I do, but when Dice Tower does Tom's boring unboxing videos, it's like Christmas for me every time because he's opening a mystery package. And occasionally he opens a box. Well, on Christmas Day, yesterday, he posted a video doing another unboxing. And at the end, he did a surprise by saying, I'm going to stop doing this unboxing every week or month or whatever. And we're going to do an unboxing every day of just one game.
Oh.
So they can unbox a game, go through the components, show you the rule book a little bit, and then, because he's like, we can't play every game we get. And the first game he picked was Tales of Grimm or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked awesome. And he was like, I can't wait to play this. So I tried to find it, can't find it anywhere because it was a Kickstarter that shipped in December.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm going to be looking for this game. 2018 for me is Fog of Love. We just got Fog of Love. We haven't played that yet. So I'm excited. Although I did read an article that said playing Fog of Love ended my marriage.
Oh, okay.
It was a story about a woman who played with her husband, and they realized they weren't compatible based on their choices. And I was like, added anxiety over a board game. So that happened. So I was a little hesitant. I have a glass of wine, too. 2018 is conventions for me. So we have a convention coming up called TotalCon in February, which is literally 15 minutes from my house. I had no idea it existed. Apparently it's been going on for 10 years or so. So we'll probably go check that out. 2018 is PAX Unplugged for me. Again. But honestly, I hope 2018 is where, not necessarily just me and you, but where PSVG can meet up.
Yeah, no kidding.
And we can find somewhere we can go to hang out. And we can bring our Switches, but we can bring our board games to these uncultured Neanderthals that work at PSVG.
Well, it is pretty amazing because I think, because I've met Kevin, and obviously you know Kevin, and Donnie and Nathan have met, and I think Justin and Jason know each other.
Justin and Jason, yeah. Coach was supposed to come out to New England for Thanksgiving because he bought tickets to the Pats game to see Cutler play, but Cutler got injured.
Right.
And Kevin and I were planning on meeting Coach and his it's his wife, right? I don't want to speak out of turn. And Coach's wife. I get to confused because of the kids thing.
Hey, people can be married without kids. It's okay.
Yes, I know. But he always talks about kids, so not wanting them.
The old teacher thing.
So we were supposed to meet them, but they didn't end up coming out. Sorry, that $3 wine went down the wrong air passage. So what else? I mean, I should take pictures because I told you just a couple of weeks ago that I thought it would take years for me to get my board games organized. But I found these awesome storage units on Amazon. So now I have about a half of my board games shelved and organized,
Nice.
so I can see everything now. I can figure out what I want to play and what I need and all that. So, 2018 is full of possibilities for me, to be honest with you. Like, there's so much that can happen, and there's so many games to be played, and there's so much for us to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I'm really I felt bad after last week's episode. We were talking about what we were thankful for and what we were happy about for 2017. I can't believe I didn't mention this podcast.
I kind of took that as that it was just a given. So
It is, but like, I haven't been on a PSVG episode since E3.
Oh, really?
But that's because we started this.
Well, but I have.
I know you have. You've been on a bunch, and maybe I've been a little envious or jealous.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it's not your fault. You don't call the shots. That's why we keep Donnie at bay, and he can't be on our episode because he hasn't had me on PSVG. No, there's been opportunities, but it's just been inconvenient times. But the thing that I take away from the most of that is when we did PSVG. Like, I really wanted to be on podcasts. Like, I jumped at every opportunity to do it, but because we have this, I feel validated. I feel happy with what we have. So, like, I'm super happy for this, and I can't wait for us to get out there and do more networking and, increase our followers and meet new people. And so it's very exciting to me, and I'm very thankful because my wife knows how much this means to me, and she always makes time for me to do this. So we don't always do this at the most convenient time for me because I have a 9-month-old, and there's no convenient time anymore.
It's very true.
So, she goes out of her way to help me out. So I'm very much looking forward to that aspect of 2018 also, because she has grown to love board games with me. And I'm excited to see what she's excited about, if that makes sense. Like,
oh, absolutely.
We cover so many different genres of games when we talk about games, and we talk about what we're excited about, but we can talk about what other people are excited about as well. Our great listeners who talk about what they want to hear. Kevin, who tells us all the things he hates. So I'm excited about all of that stuff. I think 2018 is a great prospective year. I think that we have a lot to look forward to. But before we get into video games, just let me know if I need to hear anything that you said you were excited about.
No, all I said, I mentioned a few games specifically. I just talked about how I'm excited to play Seventh Continent, which I know technically is a 2017 game, but I'm not getting it until March of 2018 because of them only selling it through Kickstarter. I'm excited for Edge of Darkness because I'm really excited for more of the card crafting. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I'm interested. I don't know if I'm excited, but I'm interested. Do you remember the Kickstarter for the game Madara?
Yeah.
That supposedly is coming out in 2018.
Did you Kickstart it?
I did not back it. You can still pre-order it, but I always thought the setting of that game was really cool. But no, like it's I think only their second game ever, and also it's 2 years late at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm more interested to see if that. I hope it turns out well. I really do, and if it does, I definitely will see what I can do to pick up a copy. But that was a game that we talked so much about, having all these themes that kind of seem old, where if having like this, neo fantasy setting just seems really cool. And I'm excited to see kind of how that turns out. And I hope it's great. I hope that it absolutely blows people away. And that it's worth the wait. But just anytime a game, comes out 2 years after it's supposed to, there's always a little bit of room for but maybe that's because they just want to put the polish on and it's going to be absolutely excellent. Who knows. But then also, I just talked about looking forward to playing more legacy style and more campaign style games. So getting into Charterstone, getting into those things and playing more of those, and hopefully going to some conventions, which I have never actually done for board games that I really feel like I should remedy 2018. So,
yeah, for sure.
So that is what I talked about in my part. But hey, that's only half the podcast. We still have video games to talk about. So Josh, what video games have you been playing?
Oh boy. You know, when we started this, I remembered.
And with all the things that happened, you can't remember?
Issues. I was going to talk about something specific. Oh, okay. So I mentioned Brawl Out last week. So I won't get into that. I will say we were able to get a good guys' day, bro out day, whatever you want to call it, last weekend, last Saturday. So my buddy came over. We got back into Gears 4, which was great. We were looking at our difficulty choices, and it was like casual, normal, hardcore. We're like, where did we start? Where did we stop? This is a mess. So we started a level on hardcore. We were getting killed, so we ended up having to change it to normal. We were in chapter 4, so we ended up stopping at chapter 5. We had a great time. They still do a great job. Like, give Microsoft a solid IP, they're going to come through for you. And Gears 4 is no exception. It looks great. It plays the same. I played some Horde mode. That was pretty fun. And then we picked up some Injustice 2 because we haven't played it. We hadn't played it since all the character packs came out, and the Atom was the newest of the character packs. So we played some Injustice for a little bit, and then I introduced him to PUBG, which he played a match, and he was like, "Nobody's here." And I was like, "You're in the top 50. He's like, "But I don't see anybody. I'm doing great."
Those games sometimes go that way.
He showed the flaws of PUBG a little bit. Then we played a little Assault Android Cactus together.
Yes.
And then we basically went through the skew of 2-player games I own. But we had a good time with that. That's such a fun game. And yesterday at Christmas at my brother's, my cousin and I, we booted up the NES Classic, and we played Ninja Turtles Arcade and Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers. And
I don't believe those games came on that system, sir.
Sorry, I should say we booted up the NES Classic I hacked from my brother that I also have. We played an X-Men arcade game. We played the original X-Men game, which, if you remember how bad that game was, you picked Wolverine, but all you were getting was sprites that were black and gold.
Yeah.
You're moving up a screen like a Contra 2 level, or like King's Knight, like you're just moving up a screen. It was terrible. But we had a great time. Mickey Mouse Capades, Little Mermaid the game, Adventures of Lolo. We played games. It was great. Everyone had fun. I don't have too much to report, though. However, I don't know what you've been playing.
So I'm going to very briefly mention, I have been, the group I play Overwatch with, a couple of them have been playing a lot of Fortnite. So I have jumped in and started playing a little more Fortnite with them. And I got third the other day. I've never won yet in solo, but I did get third. And then they have a 50v50 mode. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but they have, 50v50. So I played that, and I got down to being the last person on my team of 50, but it was 19 versus 1. So that didn't end well for me. I took out 2 people, so it ended at 17-0. I was pretty stoked. I took out more before them, but when it got down to 19 versus 1, and at that point the circle was so small, I was like, oh boy. I mean, the other team was like shooting at each other for fun because like they were like, so it was pretty rough. But the 50v50 is pretty fun. especially if you can get those lopsided games that you're able to pull back from the brink. One of the guys I play with, I wasn't in this game, but he was in a game that was 17-33, and the 17 group ended up winning. So
Really?
yeah, so when that kind of stuff happens, is really cool. But 90+% of the time in those situations, that 33 team is going to win. So it kind of is like you can usually tell pretty quickly, at least in the games I've played, where it's going to go. Not very often are games like 20-20, when or anything like that. It tends to be that they get pretty lopsided because a lot of people will go in with their groups because it's like 50v50. But if you have a squad of 4, like all 4 of you can jump in on the same side. So then you get like a number of people playing together who have always played together. And then some of those games get pretty lopsided. But it's still really fun. I think it's a cool, fun little mode. A nice way to change things up a little bit. But the game I want to talk about very briefly is the game you talked about last week, and that's Brawl Out on Switch. And it's fine.
I do that on purpose.
Yeah, I think you might like it more than I do.
No, I don't. I don't love it at all.
Okay. Yeah, it's fine. I think the characters are interesting. I haven't found the one yet that I think is my fit, and I think that might be why I'm not super enraptured by it, is that I've kind of been bouncing back and forth between a few different characters. I haven't really found one that I feel really, really good with. I find it really awkward that there's no block. Like that really, like I feel like if you get a juggle going, it's almost impossible to get out of it. Like you can dash, but I feel like the dash doesn't always react like the way I think it's going to. And so yeah, it's just the juggles get a bit ridiculous, and trying to dash out of them sometimes, like I am in those situations where I'm like, I dash out, so I'm like over the ledge, and then I jump back on and hope I can dash through the characters so that I can get out of this juggle. And that works sometimes, but it's kind of a convoluted way of thinking about it. And then there's some weird interactions with the dash, like on the multiple stages, where if you have like the base level, a mid platform, and a high platform, like on the mid platforms, you can't dash off the edges of them. Like you can walk off them or you can drop down below, but if you just try to dash like left off of one, it won't let you just do it. You just stop. And so there's just some weird things that I'm like, I don't really like 100% like the feel of the game. That combined with the fact that the matchmaking is a laggy mess, at least for the couple games I have played. I know we were going to try to play it before the podcast and we didn't, but man, the couple games I have played have been horrible. Like really, really bad. And I know they say there's a patch on the way and that that'll institute regional matchmaking and things like that, but
tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, so maybe by the time you hear this, but now I think it's one of those things, if you're looking for something to do because you love Smash, this might tide you over, but this is definitely not, when Smash comes, whenever that is on Switch, I don't think anybody's going to play this over Smash. So like I said, it has some promise. There's some cool things there. The characters are cool. I just got to find the one that works with me. But right now that online matchmaking is pretty busted, and some of those juggles, like I said, are a bit over the top. The one character I like the best so far is Paco. Have you used Paco at all?
He's the frog.
The frog guy. Yeah. And I feel really cheap because I literally just pick people up and walk off the edge with them. Because you can totally do that. You can just pick them up, and then you're like, I'm like, if I happen to get up one, I'm like, oh, I'm up one on you, sweet. I'm just gonna pick you up and walk off the edge. Let's go. Like it's just whatever. It's cool.
The lady cat, is she a cat? She's my favorite. I think she's like Chun-Li.
Oh, okay.
She has like the kicks.
Yeah,
I find her to be my favorite. I played Jason from Fluxipose a bunch, and he kicked my butt every time.
Oh, because Jason's just amazing.
He always picks Hyper Light Drifter though. So.
Oh, yeah. Which not surprising.
Which makes sense. He loves that game to death, but
he does.
He picked the bird once, and I beat him. And then he was like, yeah, the bird's not good. I'll just beat Josh with every other character that's in this game.
The thing that's annoying about the bird is that if you're off the edge, he can throw those dumb bombs.
Yeah.
And that's super annoying because you're like trying to jump back on, and like the up and B to like get back on isn't always super responsive. So it's like you're trying to avoid these bombs and figuring out, okay, when do I double jump? When do I dash? When I do this? And now I have to try to avoid these dumb bombs as well.
Yeah.
That's a little annoying. But
I would say though, for the price, it's a good if you're craving Smash.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's not Smash, but it'll hold you over until Smash comes out. And this isn't a $40 game.
Right.
And if it was, I wouldn't buy it.
Right.
I wouldn't buy it if it was a $30 game.
Right.
But for so far, what I've gotten out of it, and what I intend to like, I obviously I know I can play with you. I know I can play with Flux and Jason. Sorry, I know I can play with half of the PSVG guys. Got it. So, I mean, that's the trick, right? Finding time to play with everybody, because how many games do I have that people have that I never got to play with? Like,
Absolutely.
what a wasted investment.
So yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to playing it with people. And honestly, like if I have 15 minutes between things, like it's the perfect game to play a couple matches and call it good. So I think it definitely fits that. I think it could be really good. It just needs a little more polish and a little more work to get there, which by all intents and purposes, it looks like the developer's planning on supporting it pretty wholeheartedly. So that may all still come. So
that's nice to see, a developer who addresses concerns immediately.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're on it. They did an AMA like right away.
Right. No, absolutely.
We know there's issues. Let's hear them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we already know what the topic of the show for video games is going to be. So, hey, Josh, what are you looking forward to, predicting for? What do you think 2018 has in store in the world of video games?
All right. Well, I don't know what they have in store. I'll tell you what, though. Death Stranding is a freaking mystery.
Man.
As it should be. But I'll tell you this. From what they've shown, I'm not interested in playing what they've shown.
You just want them to get like every year come back and just release a new 7-minute trailer for like the next 6 years?
I don't want any more babies inside Norman Reedus. I want a game. I think they hinted at Psycho Mantis being in the background in the last trailer at the Game Awards. I love Metal Gear. So give me anything Kojima has to do, but I don't want this game that I'm seeing trailers for, because it doesn't look like a game. You can't tell me you watch a last trailer and got any sense of what's happening based on the past 2 trailers. They don't line up at all.
Yeah, no, no. Okay. I got nothing.
Thank you. I'm glad I'm not crazy.
No, not at all.
What
you did see the tweet though today, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So apparently, well, maybe that game. I stand by my prediction that his interesting news is not going to be that the game is coming out in 2018. It's that, hey, this game you thought that was coming out in 2019 or 2020 is actually coming out in 2025.
Well, if it was Kojima, his interesting news is going to be like, I saw Pacific Rim 2. I loved it. That's interesting news.
Which, hey, I hope Pacific Rim 2 is good because I enjoyed the first one. So that'd be great.
We love it here. But he's so all over the place with his tweets. He could just be saying, I am going to have the new cinnamon egg waffle that comes out in 2018. You have no idea what he's talking about. Man, and that got me, as Kojima would do, that got me off track for 2018. I'm looking forward to, I've never played The Last of Us.
Really?
But I have watched the React channel people play. I've watched the whole playthrough of Last of Us. So essentially I've watched 7 different people play Last of Us, and I've seen their reactions to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's made me want to play it more. So my goal is to play Last of Us before Last of Us 2 comes out. And now we're expected to believe it comes out in 2018.
No. Nobody has ever said that.
No?
No.
They've shown so much.
Nobody had. Nope. That game is not coming out in 2018. Okay. No way.
All right. So can I expect God of War to come out in 2018?
Yes. That for sure is coming out in 2018.
All right, so I'm excited about God of War. Assuming it's not a 20, let's see. Assuming it's not a 68-hour escort mission, I'm excited about God of War.
Well, PSX, Corey Barlog said that it is 25 to 35 hours is how long it's taking playtesters currently to play through the game.
Okay. Assuming it's not a 25 to 35-hour escort mission, I'm excited to play God of War.
Hey, you're a dad now. You should be way down for this.
Yeah. I don't want to play a video game about it. I live it in real life. I would never go anywhere giant trolls live with my son. I don't even want to go down the street with my son, so I'm not going to risk God of War. I'm excited. I'm excited for two things. I won't even get into crazy detail. I'm excited about the Switch lineup, what's going to come, what they're going to announce, what's going to surprise me. Because to be honest with you, if we talked a year ago today, I wouldn't have been able to name one, two, three. I'm looking at 7 of my Switch games, physical, not to mention my digitals. I wouldn't have been able to tell you a year ago today that I would even own those 7 physical Switch games.
Right.
So I'm excited to see what Nintendo surprises me with, because I didn't even think I'd own a Switch. So I'm excited about that, and I'm excited to see where Xbox goes this year, because now they have the hardware, so they have to put up or shut up if you're an Xbox fan. Because like this is the year, as an Xbox fan, you expected games, and then Microsoft was like, I know, but Xbox One X. So this is the year I need games.
So you were much more of the Xbox person than I am, obviously.
Yeah.
Outside of Sea of Thieves and State of Decay 2 and oh crud, the game that was just supposed to come out in November that got delayed. Crackdown 3. What else is on their docket for that we know about for 2018?
Nothing.
Okay.
So that's why I'm hoping, or I'm looking forward to what they. I'll say this, full disclosure, as a Microsoft fanboy since the Xbox One, they need to win me back this year, 2018.
If it helped, did you play State of Decay on 360?
I did.
I loved that game on 360. I thought that game was phenomenal.
It's not up my alley.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I've seen enough of State of Decay 2 to want to try it. I can't. I'm not allowed to say if I played Sea of Thieves, so I'll just leave it there legally. I would imagine if I was able to play Sea of Thieves, I probably would have really loved it. But I don't know if I don't know what 2018 holds. Maybe I'll get to play it.
Right.
But most likely, if I was able to play it, I would feel like it's a system seller. But so I would never say that legally.
Right. No, I understand that. So what would you say that they have to win you back? Obviously, you don't. I mean, none of us know like what their plans are for 2018, short of what has officially been said. Does the Ori sequel come out this year? Like, what would you be done that would win you back? Like, what if they came out E3 or sometime earlier in the year and said, hey, this is what's coming this fall, or this is what else we're doing? Like, what else do you need from them to be won back?
So I feel like the default answer is first party games. I don't need first party games from Microsoft, to be honest with you. I'm a little sick of Halo, as much as I love it. If they were to announce Halo 6, it wouldn't blow me away. I would be excited, but it wouldn't blow me away. So I just need them to bring games. I was on such a defensive front for 2017 because that was the popular thing, right? 2 years ago, we had everyone crap on Sony. And this year, the popular thing was to like rag on Xbox. And it really got me down. Like, and it's not just Xbox, it was kind of just the world's atmosphere.
Right. Yeah, I hear you.
You don't need to be coming down on what I enjoy recreationally while I'm also having to read about what's going on in the news. So it was tougher to deal with. So yeah, this year was tough for Microsoft. Like they didn't. I'm looking at. I own less Microsoft games right now, physically, than I do PS4 and Switch. And honestly, I only play 0 of my Xbox games right now.
You played a Solitary Cactus this weekend.
Right, but that's not physical. That's a digital game.
That's true.
And we played Cuphead. I should have mentioned
There you
that. We
go.
played Cuphead
Cuphead's
too.
great, from what I hear.
Um,
I've never played it, but it seems great.
yeah, it is great. It is great. But yeah, Microsoft, they just gotta put some games out, and it's okay if they go, hey, Tomb Raider 3, the new, I think, Xbox exclusive. That's great, but I'm sick of the timed exclusives. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I also don't think it's great that people have to pick a console for exclusives that aren't first party.
Right.
You know, Crystal Dynamics, pick a side or don't. But obviously, we know Square Enix, they're on PlayStation side. They always have been, and now they own Crystal Dynamics. So, like,
Right.
why is this stuff that's I don't know. I mean, I'm talking to you, but to talk to the listeners, like, what do you guys think for Microsoft? How many of you guys are actually Microsoft fans or own an Xbox, or who got an Xbox for Christmas? Because my Xbox is my entertainment center right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's my YouTube TV, it's my Hulu, HBO Go, Showtime. I could easily use my PlayStation 4 for that, but their user interface is not easy to use for that type of content.
It isn't.
For gaming, it's way better than Xbox. But for anything entertainment-wise, the UI for PlayStation 4 is terrible. So for 2018,
Yes, it is.
I would love to see them fix that. Because I don't see myself getting in my Darth Vader PS4. I want to keep that. But I don't know. I've talked enough. We haven't even heard about your 2018 video game predictions.
Dude, I'm stoked for 2018. I think 2018 is going to be a great year. I don't know if it might be better than 2017.
I hope so.
It could be. It really could be. Now, as listeners probably know, I'm, primarily a PlayStation gamer. I have a Switch. I don't currently own an Xbox. I own the 360. I don't currently own an Xbox system of this generation. I going to remedy that soon. But I think when I look at the lineup of things that are coming in 2018 from PlayStation, I am and even just games that are going to be on both systems. I'm maybe on Switch in like 3 years. I can't. I love my Switch. Like the Switch is like, man, had the Vita been what the Switch is, whew. I actually played my Vita just
Poor
recently.
Vita. I still love my PSP.
I know. I love my Vita too. But yeah, no, I'm really excited both for PlayStation 4 and for PlayStation VR, which I also have, because for just speaking very briefly about PlayStation VR, like the Inpatient is coming from the folks who made Until Dawn, which I think was an exceptional game. So I'm really excited.
I love that game.
I know. So I'm really excited about the Inpatient in PSVR. Moss is supposed to be coming out in February, which is looking exceptional in VR. And then Golem is slated for March. So, right off the bat, there's those games right away that, early in 2018 for PSVR, I'm really excited about, and I think has some possibility. Obviously, God of War is coming out early. There was that leaked March date that was not confirmed at PSX like people thought was going to be. Was March 22nd, which is weird because it's a Thursday, but that's also like the 10-year anniversary of God of War. So maybe that is the true date. Maybe the 23rd is of March, which would be great because that's my birthday. So I would totally take that as a birthday present. But even if it isn't, Ni no Kuni 2 is coming out March 23rd, which I'm really excited about. Shadow of the Colossus remake is coming out in February, which looks sweet. I'm actually really excited for the new Far Cry, Spider-Man, and oh man, now I'm drawing a blank. Oh, Detroit probably could be really good or really bad because it's David Cage, so who knows?
Dreams, right?
Dreams I'm really excited about. Like, actually, there's two things I want to make in Dreams. I want to make a twin stick shooter, and I want to make a board game. I'm going to make both those things in Dreams. So, like, from a gaming perspective, I'm really excited about 2018. I think that there's going to be a lot of really cool, great things. We'll see if Anthem drops in the fall. That's one of those things that I think could be.
I don't see it.
What's that? I
don't see it for next year.
I feel like it's going to get delayed to 2019, but we'll see what happens. But Red Dead Redemption 2 is supposed to be dropping in 2018. And, Rockstar tends to, put out okay games that, have a lot of
Yeah, you could say that.
But yeah, I'm just really excited, and actually Concrete Genie from Pixel Opus, I'm really excited about that little team there that works out of Sony's headquarters. I'm really excited there. Ghost of Tsushima, I don't think it's going to be 2018. Last of Us 2, I don't think it's going to be 2018. I mean, nobody thought Death Stranding was going to be, but then not here's Kojima being weird Kojima today. Maybe it will be 2018. Who knows? I still don't think so. I think that those three are all 2019 games, but I'm actually really excited about Days Gone too. Like this game that everyone seems to have forgotten about. If I get my Xbox, like I'm hoping to sometime soon, I'm definitely going to be playing State of Decay 2. Because that game, like I said, I love that State of Decay at the end of this cycle when that came out. That was one of my favorite games of that generation period. So I'm really excited. If I end up getting co-op? It was not initially co-op when it came out. I think later, like after, and people who are in the who are much more active in Xbox can correct me on this. I think after the release of the PS4 and Xbox One, I think the 360 version of State of Decay got a patch that allowed co-op.
Oh,
but it was like, but I at that point was already on the PS4.
Well, Xbox Game Share might have a say on that because I have State of Decay on my Xbox.
And I technically still have it because I still have my Xbox account. So we'll see. But yeah, so I think 2018 is going to be a really good year. I'm hoping that loot boxes become less of an issue. I hope that we see them reduce. I think the thing I'm worried about is that Battlefront 2 got hammered so hard on it that if somebody comes out and does something not kind of bad, but not as bad as they were, that it'll be like, well, it wasn't as bad as Battlefront 2. So suddenly the line will shift a little further to the not great, but because it wasn't as bad as it could have been.
Yeah.
So I'm a little worried about that. But I still just hope in general that becomes less of an issue. I know I'm a little bit weird when it comes to gamers that loot boxes in and of themselves I don't find bad or offensive, or I don't consider them gambling, which I know is very some people will tell me I'm being dumb by that, but that's fine. But I think it's just because of all of my years of playing CCGs that like it's just part of gaming to me. That you randomly get a pack and you might get some cool stuff, you might get some stuff you already have. It's just kind of the way it goes. But when it gets into, and actually in CCGs, it 100% affects your ability to be successful in a game.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But obviously, in like I still think Overwatch, for how much crap it gets for starting this and making it okay, I think they do a fine job of their loot boxes. I think are totally fine.
Well, let me ask you a question. 2018, if it's the year of the $80 game, would that be cool? No paid for DLC, no add-on content. Do you think $80? Because I've seen it floating around the net in the past week or so. Do you think that's like crazy out there? Do you think that's like legitimate, or do you think we have some ways to go before we figure out that?
I don't think we're quite there. I think I would be, and I've said this before, I would be okay if that happened. I would also, though, be much more selective about the games I buy if that happens. Number one, I don't buy that many games day one. I probably would buy a few less day one. But also, like, games drop in price, other than Nintendo games drop in price so fast now compared to what they used to.
Yeah.
That, within, like, literally, if you waited until Black Friday each year to buy every game you want to for the previous year, you probably would get them for a quarter of the price.
And the biggest week for game releases is the first week in November.
Right.
Literally 2 weeks later,
you're paying half
price.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah. So I think it definitely would probably cause me to be a little more conscientious about that. I probably would be more, I would wait for reviews more often than I do now. There's still some games I'd get right away, but I hope it's not just that games become $80. I hope that they spread the wealth in the sense of that we see more $40 games. We see more, $60, more $80. Like, I want them to explore all of the pricing that exists. Like Ratchet and Clank on PS4 for $40 was still like one of the, like, still that year, one of my favorite games that came out, period. And $40 was a great price for that game. Like, that was
an awesome price for any game. $40, great.
Right. So I hope that they continue to, like, not just increase price, but also look at other ways that you can still drive home value in other ways. I will be very bummed, though, if it becomes $80 plus a season pass or something like that. That will bum me out. But if it's just straight up $80 and then you get like all the stuff, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I hear you.
So, yeah, if it was $80 plus another $20 season pass, then I'm going to be pretty upset.
Yeah. No way.
So, but yeah, so I'm excited. I think 2018 will be good. I don't think we're going to get any quote unquote new console announcements. Maybe some like
PS5 is the closest thing we'll see here though.
Yeah.
I don't expect it, but
no, I don't either. I think we might get like a tweaked Pro somehow that maybe it's a little bit smaller, or like the Xbox One is already really small.
Slim.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think we generally might get that or something, but I don't think we'll get a new piece of hardware other than maybe Nintendo, because Nintendo always does whatever they want. And
if they put out a Switch Slim,
2.0,
Switch Slim, I'm gonna throw it out the window. I'm gonna be so mad.
Switch Slim and Switch XL, one with a smaller screen, one with a bigger screen.
No.
All right, folks. So let us know your thoughts on 2018, both in board games and video games at Board with VG. We want to know, what are you looking forward to? What are you expecting? How do you think the year's going to go? Josh, what do you say we wrap this puppy up?
I think that's a great idea. Thank you guys for joining us every week. Thanks for enjoying our extra long day after Christmas episode, because all those other PSVGers, they're lazy. They want to spend time with their families. What is this? 2016? Come on. Remember, you can find us on social media. That's at Board with the VG, BOARD. Again, I'm going to drill it until you remember, because you guys must keep forgetting, because we need some more followers on Twitter. BOARD. Start spelling it right. Come on.
That clearly must be the issue.
Yes, it has to be it. I saw if you use the hashtag Board with the VG, I saw we have 63 posts with the Board with the VG today. So don't depress me and make me realize all of mine were those 63, because that means I'm neglecting my own personal pages.
Some of them were mine too, I promise.
Good. Okay. I'm glad to hear that. So you can find me at Josh Bones on Twitter. You can find me and Kyle at Board with VG on Twitter and on Instagram. I'm also on at Josh Bones on Instagram. If you feel like looking for me, I think you have to look for it. It's called Dad, Gamer, and comma is spelled out correctly on Instagram. So if you want to find some pictures, but most of my board game ones go to our specific Instagram page. If you don't know how to find me on video gaming yet, shame on you. And next week I'll plug it. Kyle, tell the fine ladies and gentlemen how to get a hold of you.
Yes, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, the PlayStation Network, and Board Game Geek at Psychocross, CYCOCROSS. If you have any suggestions for future topics, be sure to reach out to us on social media. We're always happy to cover the things you'd like us to talk about. And remember, everyone, whether it be board games or video games, never stop gaming.